welcome everybody to another Talks with Sato, the weekly Twitter Spaces slash podcast that we host with the Money on Chain community. And every week we bring different guests that are involved in developing and building the new economy on Bitcoin. And today in particular, we have a very interesting topic of discussion. We're going to talk about trust machines and what they are doing to incentivize builders in the Bitcoin space and all the different projects that they are involved with. I trust that this is going to be a very good show to understand more what Trust Machine is doing and to learn a little bit more about Bitcoin, which is what we are all here to do. We are very happy to introduce Reena as our speaker. And yeah, I think it'll be the best way to begin, Reena, is if you give us a little bit about your background and how you got into Bitcoin, and we can take it from there.
Absolutely. And thank you so much for having me. I'm very excited to chat with you all. My background and foray into crypto is very different and a little bit unique. I started off my career as a petroleum engineer. So I actually was drilling for oil right out of college. And I got into Bitcoin from the commodities angle. So I was working offshore in the oil fields and I started hearing about Bitcoin in 2012 when a lot of folks were starting the heyday of mining and wanting to convert every aspect of energy to go into mining. And I was almost taken aback as to why people were calling Bitcoin a commodity because I come from a world of very physical and real commodities. And when I understood the white paper and read it a few times, I found Bitcoin to be revolutionary of everything that I viewed as a commodity had changed, especially coming from oil. And so I started digging in deeper and deeper into Bitcoin and I worked at a family office at the time where I was advising on energy investments. And we actually converted some of our oil fields to mine for Bitcoin then at that point. And that was in 2013, 14, and 15. And it was like one of the earliest use cases of wanting to create a different financial system solely powered by microgrids that were running on oil. And it really came to full circle for me to almost go farm to table of using something that I put blood, sweat, and tears into producing for oil and bringing it to a peer-to-peer system that anybody could access. And so that's actually when I got into Bitcoin. It was very early, strictly from the commodity side. I ultimately ended up leaving oil full time and going deeper and deeper into crypto. Some of my first early jobs in crypto was for a retail lending platform. I worked on stablecoins through TrueUSD and such. And then my most notable role in crypto is that I was an early hire for Binance US, where I grew the entire US based exchange operations. And now currently I am with Trust Machines. We are a Bitcoin products co. Our goal and mission is to build the Bitcoin economy through the ground up by building meaningful products and decentralized applications.
Wow, that's a very interesting story. Quite unique as well. I don't think anyone that we had in the show so far has a background in oil.
There's not that many petroleum engineers out there in the world anymore. We are breed. But you know
Yes,
what?
yes, but
Bitcoin miners are like the modern petroleum engineers. So there's that.
that's a good way of putting it. So you came into Bitcoin first from the energy sector, and then you said that you work on a lending platform, stablecoins, and Binance. So how was that switch from the oil into Bitcoin and crypto?
Chaotic and wild in the best possible way because you're writing the rules as you go and you're developing things in real time. There is no playbook for going into crypto in those early 2014 to 2017 era. Unlike oil, which is a very traditional industry that has robust standards of what you can follow, you're developing as you go, but you're also adapting as you go. For the retail app that I was with, it's called Ember Fund. It's the app I still use today. It essentially allows you to use Bitcoin to invest and manage portfolios. The idea is anybody should have access to a hedge fund and access to outside crypto gains. And really bringing it back is to you shouldn't have to pay a financial advisor to get exposure into an asset class because this is something that you can directly own. I think it's the standard of not your keys, not your crypto. And so it was a really remarkable experience. I believe Ember Fund has over 1 million users to date. So it's a little bit different. And then on the stablecoin side, it's the most analogous to traditional finance, in my opinion. There is very little questions as to why stablecoin has utility and use. People understand that it is faster than Swift. It is faster than any financial rail that we have right now. And it's a pretty simple concept of what happens if you use code and open source technology, primarily blockchain based, to improve your efficiency of operations. And I joined Trieste in 2018, and we are now in 2023 at the end, and people are still getting into stablecoins with PayPal joining the fight for goodwill earlier this year. So I don't think stablecoins will ever go away. Actually, if anything, I would love to see a stablecoin that's Bitcoin backed.
Yeah, I'm not sure if you know how our the money on chain protocol works, but that is what we do. We have a Bitcoin backed stablecoin using the rootstock blockchain.
Zero, right?
Zero is from Sovereign, and the Sovereign protocol, it works, it's very aligned with the money on chain protocol. We're both in rootstock. And the stablecoin that Sovereign has, it's a basket of stablecoin.
Nice.
And yeah, and the money on chain stablecoin called dollar on chain is part of that basket. But
Well,
money on, yeah, yeah, it's a little bit complicated to understand how the ecosystem operates.
But
But
it's remarkable that you're still doing everything with Bitcoin because there's nothing as decentralized, liquid, or universally adopted in Web3 like Bitcoin.
100%. And that's why we choose to build on rootstock and try to be as aligned with Bitcoin as possible. So I think we are off to a great start for these spaces. There's a lot of us for us to talk about. But before we go more forward, I would if you can give us a brief description of what Trust Machine is and what they do, so that the audience has some background information to understand.
Absolutely. Trust Machines is first and foremost a Bitcoin products company. We build products on Bitcoin, period. Our products are geared both for retail and institutions alike. Some of our products include the Leather Wallet, which is a premier Bitcoin browser wallet and desktop wallet. Mobile coming soon. We have support for stamps, ordinals, Bitcoin on the L1, and then also some layering solutions for Bitcoin as well. Our second product that is near and dear to my heart is called Console. It is a community chat platform. The idea that communications should always be open and decentralized, and no one should be forced into censorship or anything like that. And so, really honing in on the Web3 principles for community based chat. There is other projects that we're working on that are a little bit in stealth, but one that I'll share is that we are building a Bitcoin liquidity protocol. So the idea is that Bitcoin is money. You should be able to use Bitcoin as collateral to take out a stablecoin loan. Maybe I need to learn to see if I can use money on chain as the stablecoin. But I fundamentally believe that there is value to add and something that is missing in the market given CeFi has been wrecked of transparency through DeFi with Bitcoin. And so we are building at the early stages a protocol for that. And then for non product related work, we do contribute to a lot of different layers. We contribute to Lightning by having an atomic swaps protocol. We contribute to Stacks for some of their Bitcoin L2 initiatives. We do contribute to Rootstock as well. Fairly agnostic. I think the most important thing for us is Bitcoin should be a productive asset. We want to deploy Bitcoin capital. There is a $500 billion, but no one is thinking how to make Bitcoin more productive on the L2 because we have a robust base layer, but we don't have smart contracts in the base layer. And so some adaptivity is needed now.
Hello, Rhea. I don't know if I lost you.
I'm still here.
Okay, okay, perfect. So again, you just touched on a lot of things that I would like to go more into. First, I want to congratulate everything that Trust Machine is doing because I do believe that this is really good. In order for us to develop the Bitcoin ecosystem, we need more uh, projects like Trust Machines that are helping develop the use cases, which is what is going to attract the end users. I really like the way in which you said that you're chain agnostic and you're supporting all the different L2 ecosystems on Bitcoin. We on this show we also try to be chain agnostic. We recently had the CEO of Bitcoin Startup Labs, and we had just yesterday we have members from the Stacks community, and we had some different projects that work with Lightning and DLCs and ordinals. So we're just trying to explore everything that the Bitcoin space can offer, which right now seems like there's more options than ever, and that is very exciting. So I want to briefly touch on the products that you described, maybe starting with Leather Wallet. That was the first one you talked about. Leather Wallet, if I'm not correct, if I'm not mistaken, that used to be Hero Wallet, right?
That is correct. So we have acquired the Hero wallet and all of the IP. We have gone through a full rebrand of the wallet. And I think the most important thing to know about this is that by doing this acquisition, we are going first and foremost as a Bitcoin wallet. We love and support the L2, Stacks is the L2 for where Hero is incubated from, or where Hero is based on, excuse me. However, there's so much more to do for Bitcoin tooling and Bitcoin infrastructure, given what has blasted off with ordinals from the beginning of the year and how even today, I think it's notable to say that ordinals, Bitcoin stamps, BRC20s, things on the base layer needed a glow up of the tools of how you support them. And we really want to position Leather Wallet as the Bitcoin wallet for the rest of us. I can't emphasize this enough, but Bitcoin for the longest time has been somewhat divisive, and we intend to bring our wallet to be a really safe, trusted, non-custodial wallet, very much to the ethos of what Bitcoin is for everybody. And it shouldn't be only for institutions or only for retail. Like we serve everybody who believes in Bitcoin. And so that's really where Leather Wallet is going. We have support for a variety of different assets on the L1 and L2, and we're looking at supporting even more L2s for Bitcoin.
Wonderful, wonderful. I've actually tried the Hero Wallet, and I found the design and the UX is really good. And now that it has the full support of Trust Machines and this direction, I am excited to see what's going to happen next with it.
Next is mobile. We're already gearing up for mobile and then deeper integrations for people who support ordinals. So thinking about creator tools and who we want to partner with to make the artistry of ordinals front and center.
Amazing, amazing. I think, yeah, if we could have cleaner way of interacting with the ordinals protocol, there probably more use cases will come for it, especially for content creators and community builders. I
So
do
how
think
do
that
you interact with the with ordinals right now? Are you inscribing directly or are you using one of the marketplaces?
That's the thing that right now I haven't been experimenting with it because I haven't found a way that it's intuitive enough. And because I'm very busy hosting this show and doing all the content, I haven't had the time to go fully down the rabbit hole. So I am looking for something that's going to make that process easier for me so I can actually start using it.
If you have a chance, try the Gamma Marketplace. They are a premier ordinals and NFT marketplace on Bitcoin, and they have this, it is dummy proof. There is a tool where you straight up upload whatever you want to inscribe, and they handle all of the smart contracts and all of the inscriptions to make sure it's written in the block space. And it is something that I use. I used it to even make inscriptions as commemorative pieces for all of our team members. It's really simple and the UI is flawless.
Love it, love it. I'm definitely going to give it a go. Gamma is one of the projects that I'm trying to get into the spaces as well. They're doing a lot of great work. So I'll definitely get in touch with them and start using their platform to test it. Now, you also talked about Console. Console is a product that I actually have some experience with. I have talked with the team, and we're also trying to get them to be part of the spaces. So maybe you can talk to us a little bit about Console and what is the goal with that project.
Console is everything Discord is not. No, that is the best way to put it. Console is your platform to launch and build your community that is safer, decentralized, and trusted. We essentially took everything that was the thrash of Discord, the terrible user experience, the feeling like you're going to get scammed constantly, the idea of having to do verifications and such, and abstracted it completely to be a very Web3 native experience. So when you want to chat on console, you just connect your wallet. You have token gated channels that you can set for your communities. You can gate them by your domain names, whether it's ENS or BNS, things like that. But it is the one place where you feel that not only can you chat as a community, but you grow as a community. You can make decisions as a community. And I think that's largely missing from the market. With Discord, you have, like, chaotic chat, maybe of, like, friendly communications here and there, but with console, you grow, you thrive, and you be the place where your community is centered. I'm obviously very passionate about it, that console is decentralized, the servers are integrated with matrix protocols, so, like, fully decentralized that so long as nodes are running, that's it, and we're bullish.
Definitely, definitely. And speaking as someone who has worked with many different protocols, and most of them has have their community in Discord. And I have to say, personally, I don't like Discord as a platform to build your community. And an alternative, yeah, an alternative that is designed to adopt all this new Web3 functionality and it's also built like using Bitcoin. To me, that's wonderful.
Its console is your community hub for Web3 natives. It will be a welcoming and safe place for anybody to feel connected to a community, whether you're deep into Web3 and degenerate, or whether you're new into Web3 and you're creating your first wallet. I think console really strikes the mark of truly deciding the ethos of why we like Bitcoin, why we value open source, decentralized technology, and I like the aspect that the power is always left with the community. Once that server is created, it's the community who gets to effectively set all the rules and rights to their server. It is a way that you can't get deplatformed. And I think there's value to add, especially with current communications protocols that are very centralized.
100%, 100%. It's very difficult to build a robust community if it's built on a centralized server and giving all the power to one company. That's never a recipe for success. So it is very interesting that we start starting to see all these different opportunities and different options for us as community builders and people that are working in the space. It's very exciting. And that's one of the reasons that I wanted to have you here in these spaces. Now, part of the mission for Trust Machines, if I got this right from researching it, is this idea of scaling to a billion users on Bitcoin. So, do you want to talk a little bit about that and how you're planning on achieving this?
Yeah, I think there is a lot of different ways to scale Bitcoin. The L1, as we know, is not sustainable at this point in time. We have surging fees, and we know that we need to find solutions to the L2. There are many debates, I think, going on in the maxi community on whether Bitcoin should be ossified or not, right? I think the L2 provides a way to inherit all of the security properties and hash power of Bitcoin, whether you use an L2 drive chain, side chain, whatever your destiny may be. There is a lot of ways to improve to bring Bitcoin to a billion users. At Trust Machines, we obviously contribute to all of them. One that we're contributing a little bit more closely is the SBTC protocol being developed by Stacks. We we think there is some inherent properties to harness to have smart contracts on Bitcoin, and this is one option that we're going down. I think we see a lot of validity additionally to Lightning Network. Lightning is a great payments network. I use Lightning on a fairly regular basis, but I think there is some maybe UI difficulty just in current state on opening up channels and realizing that you need to have a Lightning address and stuff. I think maybe that can be simplified by using a domain, like a DNS domain or something like that. But at the end of the day, we all fundamentally agree that Bitcoin is here to stay, but we don't want to congest or clog the base layer. And so the way we go about the L2 is important.
Yes, yes. I think there's a lot of discussion at the moment on the best way to scale Bitcoin. And I know there's been a lot of talk recently about whether Lightning is the best way to do it, or even this SBTC update by the Stacks community. It seems like, yeah, there's a lot of interesting conversations going on at the moment. We recently had Pulse Talk and we had a whole discussion on drive chains,
Oh, I
which
love
that is,
that.
yeah, that is another topic that is very interesting because with drive chains, like the process of creating a new L2, it's much straightforward. And ideally, the peg in and out to this new drive chain, it would be fully trustless. So that is a very exciting proposal that if it gets approved and it works as it should, I think it will open a ton of opportunities for everyone in the space.
I think the most important aspect as we think about how to scale Bitcoin is what will still stick to the ethos of Bitcoin from the base layer. So, whatever scaling mechanisms people use, making sure it's still fully decentralized, it's still fully trustless. There are no intermediaries. Like, that's what matters more to me. And I think there is a lot of opportunity ahead with the SBTC protocol. I definitely think there's a lot to go off with Rootstock's innovative approach too. And so, these are all tangible objectives to bring Bitcoin to the masses. So long as we don't alter the base layer, I don't necessarily wanna go into a a BSV and take a stack 10 years ago.
Yeah, yeah. And I think that's why that's one of the good things about the Bitcoin communities that they are very adamant in keeping the ethos and make sure that in whatever way we choose to scale is not going to affect the L1 and Bitcoin as we know it today, which I think is that's the way to go. I wanted to ask if you can at least explain to us a little bit about SBTC because I am not I know roughly what it is. I don't know exactly. And maybe for the audience, it would be good to have a short summary of why you think it's such an important protocol.
So the SBTC protocol is a protocol to create a one-to-one um, backed asset of Bitcoin to the L2. So it essentially locks Bitcoin on the L1 and it allows you to deploy it on the L2. The reason why I think there's some importance around it is as the Bitcoin L1, does it have direct full VM capability to deploy smart contracts? And so this is one means to do. What I like about the protocol is that it is being contributed by a fully decentralized group. And so there is no one centralized party contributing to SBTC, which kind of gives me the ethos of what Bitcoin should be or what a Bitcoin L2 should be. There is really ambitious plans for the protocol for allowing anybody to use Bitcoin SBTC similar to BTC, even having fees and the native currency of SBTC and such. And so I think that's like a nice UI improvement for Bitcoiners. There are other ways to go about like other protocols as well, but this is one that I'm at least contributing in like in the decentralized open source way.
Wonderful, wonderful. And I can tell by all the conversations that are happening in the Stacks ecosystem that people are very interested and excited about SBTC. It reminds me a lot of the RBTC that we have in Rootstock because we are like,
100%.
yeah,
It actually is
sort of-
similar. I think it's actually similar to TBTC from like Thesis as well. There are some like inspirations drawn from that.
yes, yes. I think that, yeah, just the ability to bring Bitcoin to a side chain and have it back to one, that is key for us to be able to scale Bitcoin again to with this goal of reaching a billion users, hopefully
I mean,
soon.
all I want to do is to be able to take Bitcoin, move it to the L2 and deploy it in DeFi or deploy it in something that has adds value for me and meaningful with so long as the L2 has the security of the L1. That's the most important thing for anybody who's in Bitcoin is that we are looking at other ways to utilize our current Bitcoin. It is resting capital that most of us are longtime hodlers, but I also want to play around with it. I do want to try creating an NFT or I guess ordinals with it or bring about real world opportunity. Like something I'm passionate about is using Bitcoin on the L2 for microloans for emerging markets and emerging countries and such. Like it is an important space that no one is looking at. And we're going to have billions of dollars flooding the market into Bitcoin when ETFs come around, whenever a spot ETF is approved in America. And it's a really great nod for the industry and the ecosystem. But I also wonder what comes next. I like the idea of institutional capital flowing in, but then I want them also to deploy it into the ecosystem in a more succinct manner that captures the value we want to create. Because if we only leave everything on the base layer, where do we stand when the mining subsidies go away or become diminished 2040, 2050? Like we want these Bitcoin nodes to stay around for the long haul. And so I think the time is now to put products on Bitcoin directly and have scaling solutions and robust offerings from the L2.
Yeah, I could not have said it better. I agree with everything that you just said, and I just want to give my personal experience. Money on chain, even Rootstock, they both got started in Argentina. I was born there. I live in Australia now, but yeah, like our whole focus was from the very beginning to provide solutions to the emerging markets. Especially now in Argentina, there's 130% inflation every year. So if you can have something like a Bitcoin-backed stablecoin that literally can change the people's lives. Because otherwise, if you get paid in pesos, you have to grab your pesos and run to the shops and spend it as quickly as possible because tomorrow they're going to be worth less than today, which is a terrible way to live.
That's just not okay in modern society. This is not something that we in this century should be dealing with. And that's partially probably why all of us have flocked to Bitcoin, to Web3 principles, to creating different rails and different systems, because no one should feel like their money is worth less tomorrow than it is today. That's just abysmal.
Yes, and when that happens to an entire country, things go array very quickly. And it's a situation that is it's very hard to change from within the existing system. And that's why tools that exist outside of the system are so important. And Bitcoin is the strongest tool that exists outside of the system. So any use case that we can build that uses Bitcoin, it allows people in those areas in the world to circumvent their current situation. While they do, when they're adopting these tools, they're also adding value to the Bitcoin network, which benefits all the Bitcoiners around the world. Even the people that may not need a Bitcoin backed stablecoin, because like I live in Australia. Here, the economy is stable enough that most people are not actively looking for an alternative. But Bitcoiners here can benefit from people in Argentina using a Bitcoin backed stablecoin because that is adding value to the Bitcoin network. So it's connecting a lot of different people that have different needs, but it makes them all of them work together and become stronger together because the network gets stronger.
I couldn't agree more. Like my home country is India, and I was in India when the rupee, the 500 note, was taken out of circulation, and like firsthand realized that I could not withdraw some money, or the money in my wallet that had the 500 note was literally nothing. And so, even though most of us in Western society don't fear that our currency will go away, the vast majority of the world lives in this style of fear, and we have to build for every aspect of the world and not just think of for Western society lens.
Yes, yes, 100%. And when you can use something like Bitcoin and connect, again, different people looking for different things with different problems, but you connect them all into the same network, then the whole thing becomes stronger. And every member of that network benefits. And then you also touched on something like you said real world use cases like microloans and things like that. And I feel like that is something that is very key, something that Bitcoin can offer. And I used Rootstock a few weeks back. I got married and I actually used
Congratulations.
thank you. I am very happy. And yeah, I just to be able to afford the wedding, I didn't want to sell my Bitcoin. So I just went to a lending pool. I let them as collateral. I took on some stable coins. I paid for my wedding. And then after everything was done, I just repaid it and I got all my Bitcoins back. So to me, that was like an incredible tool that allowed me to do something that otherwise it would have been very difficult for me to do. And not only
That's
that, but
one of the most like heartwarming use cases I have heard for Bitcoin lending in a long time. Like most people are taking out like Bitcoin loans for stables are going to use it for like trading positions or other leverage positions. But this made an impact on your life. And the more of these protocols that we build, people can actually use their Bitcoin as money, use the loan that they're able to effectively get through a protocol to make meaningful changes in their life. Kudos to you on doing the Bitcoin wedding fund. I will take some notes how to do that in the future.
yes, and the best thing was that like when you take a loan, you have to pay a small interest. And the faster you repay the loan, the less interest you pay. So that's to me that already is better than a traditional loan. But also because I use Bitcoin as collateral and now Bitcoin is up, everything I paid in interest, I recover just because my assets grew up in value. So it's not only is a tool that I wouldn't otherwise be able to access, but also is better than anything else in the traditional system. So I do feel like as the UI and UX becomes easier and as people understand this is going to unlock a lot of potential for everyday people, for everyday things.
Yeah, I'm glad you're touching on the UI because that's, I think, the most painful aspect of Bitcoin just in current state. It's not easy to navigate. It's not easy to use an old school wallet and run all of the nodes directly. But I think a lot of people have opened up their eyes in a meaningful way to want to improve just the general user experience with Bitcoin. And like, I'll credit a lot of this Casey Rodham work for like Ordinals protocol and such, and like bringing the idea of there's so much more you can do instead of a basic JPEG on the chain. There is, it's just, we it's almost like we took Bitcoin for granted over the last some years. It was always just the main asset that we relied on to hold its store of value until some people had the belief to be very much more contrarian on I can hold on to a store of value, but I can do more. And ordinals to me is like a most prime example.
Yes, yes. I think that probably the UI and UX is the thing that we need to fix because a lot of the use cases, a lot of what I would consider to be the killer apps, I think that we already have them. We already have Bitcoin backed stablecoins. We already have decentralized lending pools. We have all this stuff that most, like almost anyone can use and benefit from them. It's just a way of them to use them more like easier for them to access. At, the- at the moment, it seems like it's not easy for everyone to use. You need to be someone that is in the space that knows how to do all these kinds of stuff, how to operate with decentralized applications and self custodial wallets. It's a little bit of a learning curve. But as we fix all this stuff, I think, yeah, we can just onboard a lot more people into the Bitcoin network.
How do you think about wanting to onboard so many people into Bitcoin? Where do you think education is maybe lacking or lackluster? It's I We all try to spread the Bitcoin gospel, but what more do we need to do to get more people to see that this is a real alternative?
I think starting by showing people real use cases, that helps a lot because it puts them in perspective that they can understand. Like I am using the time I used it for my wedding as an example, and now I am doing another Bitcoin loan so I can get myself some better tools to do my job better. Because I think if I can use Bitcoin to access the value of my Bitcoins now without selling the future appreciation, and I use that value that I'm accessing to get investment in tools and things that allow me to be more effective in my work, that is an unlock that I think if I can teach people how to do it, if I can do it successfully, and then I can show people how to do it as well, I think that will open an opportunity for people to start taking advantage of all these tools and things. But to me, I think the explaining all the steps, because it takes a lot of steps, because it's not like you can put in fiat and it automatically gets into Bitcoin, deposit into the lending pool, and you get the loan out. Like you have to do every step manually, and that
That's
is a bit
true.
hard for people.
It might be a bit hard for people, but I'm committed to fix the product experience to make it easier and easier day by day.
100%. And everything that we're doing with the money on chain right now, in terms of growing the user base and trying to get more people into Bitcoin, we are focusing a lot in education about money, having people understand what are the problems with the traditional system. We're also focused a lot in Latin America and Africa, which are places that people don't have a lot of options. So that for them, it's much easier to see the value in something like Bitcoin and decentralized finance.
Great areas to focus on because they may not have a lot of options, but they are technology enabled even more so than a lot of other countries because they are a mobile first generation. Like Africa has made huge strides in the early 2000s to be the innovator with M-Pesa and everything like that. And like they are primed to be a Bitcoin first audience.
I think so. I think so. If I look at, I also collaborate a lot with the Rootstock ambassadors. I am a Rootstock ambassador as well as being part of the Money on Chain team. And most of the ambassadors, there's pretty much there's two camps, and it's the Latin American and the African. And I am one of the few that, because I can speak English and Spanish, I communicate with both. And to me, it's no wonder that those are the two places where we see this community appearing and gathering. And it has to do a lot with the necessity. And like you said, that they're primed and they're very technologically savvy. So yeah, I think for us, those two areas has been the where we see the most results. I know I can see in the audience right now some of our ambassadors from Africa. So thank you guys for joining us. I also take this moment to say to anyone from the audience, if you have any question or anything that you want to add, you can type it in. You can request a mic as well. And I would like to ask you, Reena, about what are you seeing at the moment as the struggles or the obstacles for what Trust Machine is doing and seeking to do?
I think some of the struggle is there's just not enough Bitcoin users like to market. We're only at 4%, 5% of the world. And the more and more people onboard into Bitcoin, the more and more we can build this ecosystem from the ground up. But to me, that's definitely a struggle, more so than anything else. The other struggle is just fundamentally trying to align with the cultural clashes of Bitcoin. You have a camp that do not want to interact with the base layer with the L2s whatsoever. And then you have a camp that are very much going to march in their own direction because um, Bitcoin is open source and anybody can build on Bitcoin. And I think bridging some of those divides would go a long way because at the end of the day, if you have any bit of stats, like you are a Bitcoiner and that's all that matters. And some of these interpersonal squabbles do not need to make the light of day.
Yes, I think this cultural divide is hurting the space more than it's helping it. I hope we can get past it. Hopefully, and I see the same thing, and that's why when we started this series of spaces, I noticed that most of the Bitcoin spaces and most of the Bitcoin podcasts, they are very on one side of that cultural divide.
100%.
And yeah, to me, it's always astonishing to see, especially looking at the big Bitcoin podcast, and you see the same guests going over, and they never talk about what's happening on Rootstock, what's happening on Stacks, what's happening on Ordinals, like all that stuff. It's almost like it doesn't exist. When we started these spaces, we were like, no, we want to give a voice to the other side. We want to talk to the builders. We want to talk to people in other ecosystems because there's otherwise it seems like that those voices that just don't get heard as much.
And it's like every voice matters, or there's no denying that every voice matters because we are all trying to spread the mission of Bitcoin. That's how we're going to get to a billion users. But we can do an even better job of educating institutions and retail alike. What can you do with Bitcoin? What applications you can deploy it into? What products to use? And even open up the conversation of what do you want to see built on Bitcoin? Because there's so many of us who are trying out different experiments, but all of us build for the same collective community of if you have Bitcoin, we build for you.
Yes, yes. I always find that narratives that unite are always much stronger than narratives that divide. So I think if we can all agree that, hey, we're trying to do the best for Bitcoin and we're trying to do the best for people, then hopefully we can all unite our strengths instead of uh, just being against each other. That's my hope.
Do you mind me asking, since we are going into a Bitcoin halving cycle, what do you want to see in Bitcoin next year?
That is a very good question. Of course, like we all see the halving as an inflection point, usually in terms of bear market and bull market. Like of course, every time the price of Bitcoin goes up, that attracts a lot of attention, and that is good for getting new users and new people in the ecosystem. I think if we would have maybe less volatility and more like slower value gain without heavy pullbacks, that's going to be easier to attract more people that are, I think one of the things that keeps people from entering into Bitcoin is that wild volatility in the price. That tomorrow maybe you are 10% up, but maybe you are the day after you are 20% down. And some people it's very hard to stomach that volatility. So I would like to see as Bitcoin grows, it becomes a bit more stable in its price. But I am not sure that's going to happen in this halving.
What I want to hear about next year is instead of stories about Bitcoin volatility and Bitcoin price movements, I want people to talk about transaction fees and how we can improve transaction fees. That's what I want to hear next year.
Yeah, 100%. Especially like you said before, that one of the problems that you're experiencing is that there's not enough users, which is a problem that I hear from every single protocol. So if we can get the narrative to be less about price and more about what Bitcoin can do for people, and we can get more users, then the apps themselves, they will struggle less and they can all grow and help the entire space grow. That's what I'm hoping.
I couldn't agree with you more.
Mhm. Yes, and for the time being, given how we are in this situation where there's few users and there is also this cultural divide, do you have any tips or some ideas for Bitcoin builders? Some advice, maybe?
I think the biggest piece of advice for Bitcoin builders is like staying to your conviction. If you can build on Bitcoin, you can build on Bitcoin with Lightning. You can build on Bitcoin with RSK. You can build on Bitcoin with Liquid. You can build on Bitcoin with Stacks. And it's like, I think so many people are deterred because they don't think you can build on Bitcoin, but that's simply not the truth. You can build like meaningful products and applications on Bitcoin. And so if you are on building on Kit Bitcoin, find yourself a community of builders that you want to collaborate with and have that sense of trust because um, it is a long road ahead to build on Bitcoin, but it's a road that's going to be here virtually forever.
Yeah,
I
I
can at
think
least say that I think Bitcoin will be around forever, unlike other blockchains.
100%, 100%. And I think that might be the key for anyone that's looking to build into Bitcoin, to have a long time frame and to know that we are building for the long term. It might be difficult right now because, again, there's not as much users as we would like. And the cultural divide it doesn't help. But if you build with that long term perspective, I think we can make something, again, something that will last, something that will add value, and we can slowly onboard, um, hopefully everyone at some stage.
Every person building on Bitcoin is playing the long game and it should be commended and valued.
Yes, yes. And in Rootstock, there's a slogan that we always use, and we always say, "Build to last." Build something that's gonna last, hopefully forever, like Bitcoin.
I love that.
Yes, yes, yes. Yes. And this is something that we say in the Rootstock ecosystem, but I think like every Bitcoin ecosystem has that same mentality and that same ethos. So we're getting close to our 1 hour mark. So I think it would be best to close with a question that we ask all our guests, and that is: if you were to meet Satoshi Nakamoto today, what would you, Reena, ask him?
Ooh, that's a good question. Goodness, what would I want to I think what I would want to know or even just get colors on where did he envision Bitcoin 100 years from now? The white paper is so limited in details that I want to know is Satoshi planning to take over and build an entire system that the world operates on? because I feel like there's some nuggets in the white papers that allude to that might be the case. So I'm curious if Satoshi had a grander visionary plan 100 years from now.
Yeah, that is a very good question. I think I need to get together all the answers from the different guests because they always present very interesting questions with for this particular question that always makes me wonder. I don't expect we will ever get the answers to these questions, but they're always fun to ask and speculate on.
You never know. One day, there might be a message in the original OG like Bitcoin chat, and we may get direction. Who knows?
Yes, we cannot know for sure that Satoshi is not still among us, and maybe he might be even be someone from within the space that is talking, but we just don't know that he's Satoshi, which would make the whole thing much more wild. All right. Well, so Rena, thank you so much for joining us. Thank you everyone that came. We're gonna host another spaces, same time, same day next week. And the idea is that every week we'll talk with someone from within the space to know what is being built, what teams are working, and stay up to date with everything that's happening in the Bitcoin space, which at the moment is so much happening that it's a very exciting place to be. So thank you, Rina. And yeah, if you just want to leave people with maybe what they should be expecting from trust machines in the near future.
Sure.
Uh,
Well,
yeah.
one, just thank you so much for having me. It's always fun to talk about Bitcoin and what more we can do. As a closer, we at Trust Machine are going to continue to build products on Bitcoin. It is our core mission, and that will always be our mission today, tomorrow, 100 years from now. What you can expect for us coming soon, the leather wallet will be launching mobile, so you can take your Bitcoin with you on the go everywhere you go. That is a key priority for us. And the second is as you think about growing and developing, we are constantly adding features to console to make it even more robust community platform more and more to come with that.
All right. Perfect. Perfect. We will make sure that once we publish this as a podcast, we add all the links to Trust Machine, Console, and the Leather Wallet. And yeah, I just wanted to say, Irina, that you are always invited to come back, and people from Trust Machines as well. Once you have maybe a new product that you want to talk to us about, or whatever it is that we can help you, just let us know and let's stay in touch. And thank you, everyone, from coming here. We hope we see you again next week.
Thank you.